support and comfort as they climb down the mountain, calling the children of earth with love in their hearts, with love in their hearts. My soul never loses hope, because your love always teaches me the solution lies in my Lord. The solution lies in my Lord. Oh, my mother's Ephraim, harvest of wonderful blessings. Make yours blossom and good creation. Make yours blossom and good creation. Look, crystal wise, colors of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santa's look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, making joy, or in pain. Oh, crystal eyes, colors of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santa's look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Blessed are you, Apostle of the good, receive our prayers and also our heart. Blessed are you, Apostle of the light, place our pain at the feet of Jesus Christ. When life lends a hand, it's time to open up your heart. It is time to love one another. It's time to take part. Vibrates our ways, loving and sharing everyone. Vibrates our ways, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart and charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dreams become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. Vibrate our ways, loving and serving everyone. Vibrates always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart and charity, our lives are transforming into songs, our dreams become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity.
Sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes it's not so close. Sometimes we build our dreams, but then we see them decompose. When you feel down the dumps, feeling sad and blue, give life a chance, my friend. The sun will shine again on you. Believe you can come through. The rainy days are true. Have little faith in you. Maybe tomorrow you can dream all your dreams again. Though some sorrow remains, it doesn't mean the end. Believe you can come through. The rainy days are true. Sometimes okay to feel blue. Have little faith in you. Dream all the dreams again. Though some sorrow remains, your dreams can get you through. Have little faith in you.
When I go in to pray, I look for my good Jesus. And when I close my eyes, I can feel all His light. I open my heart for all He has to say. He shows me the best way I can enjoy my life. Jesus, they never we apart. Please bring all your light to shine inside my heart. Jesus, Jesus, I can be content. I have your endless love and your protecting hand.
Quand la nuit tombait à Capharnaüm, la maison de pierre si simple, un foyer commun, s'emplissait de paix, dans son cœur chacun recueillait les paroles de lumière du Maître divin. telle est la loi, et pendant ta prière en famille, tous les jours on se reverra. Et je m'imagine enfant à cet endroit-là, peut-être Jésus m'inviterait à sortir un soir dans les jardins de chez Pierre. J'entendrai sa voix à dire: tu sens cette brise, la lune, tu la vois, il faut repartir tout comme elle, puisque telle est la loi. Et pendant ta prière en famille, tous les jours on se reverra. Et pendant ta prière en famille, tous les jours on se reverra.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our public meeting. We thank everyone for joining us tonight. Before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and find a quiet place during this time if possible. Our meeting will have a 30-minute presentation followed by a Q&A. Following the presentation, we will also have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. And now we have a special invitation for those who want to know more about Spiritism. Every Saturday at 5:15 p.m., we are now having an online and free course, and its name is Get to Know Spiritism. So next Saturday, we will not be having it exceptionally, but the next class will be on Saturday, April 23rd, and the theme for that meeting will be obsession. Amazing topic. So if you are interested, please join us by registering through the link that will be posted in the chat later. We also would like to invite everyone to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from the Spiritism Canada and Spiritist group Path of Light. And we will now get started with the initial prayer, and I invite everyone to join me in the prayer. So let's close our eyes if you feel comfortable, and let's elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus and the friendly spirits that are here with us tonight. Thank you, Jesus, for the opportunity to be here tonight to learn about your teachings. We would like to ask for your protection for all the work that will be done tonight. We trust that you will be with us today and always. So be it. And the topic of today's meeting will be the easy yoke, and which is the item 1 and 2 from chapter 6, the consoling Christ. And it will be facilitated by our sister Veronica. And now we also would like to announce that our public meeting is being retransmitted today by Continental Concafras Americas through their Facebook. And we will also be retransmitted every Wednesday at 8 p.m. by Kardec Radio through their Facebook. So everyone is invited to write in the chat comments and questions, and we will be addressing those in the end of the talk. Okay, so now we would like to invite our tonight's speaker. Welcome, Veronica.
Hi, Larissa. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well as well. Thank you for the introduction and good evening, everyone. So, as Larissa mentioned, today we are starting a new chapter. It's chapter 6 from the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Consoling Christ. So we will spend 4 weeks studying this chapter, and today we are going to talk about items 1 and 2, entitled The Easy Yoke. So this chapter starts with a passage from Matthew that says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So these are the words from Jesus. And it is a small paragraph. It's about 3 sentences. And we can spend our entire meeting today trying to understand what Jesus meant by these words. And so let's try. My proposal for us to study this today is to actually break it down, those 3 sentences, so that we try to get more, stop a little bit and reflect about these words. So let's start with the beginning of this paragraph that starts with an invitation. Jesus says, "Come to me." So Jesus is inviting us to reach out to him. Well, we cannot reach Jesus physically, and I guess everybody can agree with me with that. But Jesus is making this invitation to come to him in order for us to understand his teachings, to understand the gospel, to understand his life and his examples. So this is the invitation. So it starts with this invitation for us to get to know him better and know what his experience on earth was. So he continues by saying, all you who are weary and burdened. So he's inviting these people who are weary and burdened. And I want to ask you, who are these people who are weary and burdened? And it's all of us, right? And this invitation extends to all of us, because each one of us, in one way or in the other, in one point in our lives, experience pain, experience suffering. So all people who have some sort of suffering in this life on earth are invited to come to him. So this includes suffering, those who suffer in misery, disappointments, illnesses, loss of loved ones. So all these struggles we face on earth, even some sort of insecurity about our capabilities, fear, sometimes with reason and sometimes with no reason, irrational fear. So all these types of suffering, if we get one, we are invited to get to know him. And these experiences we suffer on earth, they are common to all human beings. One might experience have different experiences, but nobody's immune to difficulties. Even enlightened spirits who incarnate once in a while on earth to teach us, to help us improve, they also face struggles and disappointment. right? But the difference is how we deal with the suffering. So we have to, we can accept that happiness is not from this world. And if you were following us in our studies, we studied chapter 5 um, from the gospel, which talks about uh, the, the afflictions, right? And why the earth is the place for afflictions. And we learned that it is because we made many mistakes in this life, in previous lives, and the struggles we face are consequences of our bad choices. But there is a hope here because Jesus comes now and say that we have a place if we can come to meet him, right? If we can come to meet him. So let's see what else Jesus would say, right? So he says that if we come to him and if we are suffering, we will find in him rest. So I will give you rest. So Jesus is offering rest. So this rest is not a rest that will be relaxing, doing nothing, right? In static position. Is not, that is not the rest Jesus meant, but is the rest in the in terms of relief, relief of the suffering. And interesting here, um, the rest or the relief, he doesn't say that he's going to stop the pain or that we're going to find the cure for anything, right? So he's not offering healing of the suffering. He's offering relief. And that is because if we suffer, most of the time, the cause is ourselves. We are the own creators of our suffering. And these are lessons that we have to learn by our own. And the healing, the process of cure depends on us. And because many of the suffering, many of the afflictions we have on earth are due to our mistakes, we need to fix and correct the mistakes we have made in the past, sometimes in previous lives, sometimes in this the present life. But Jesus has the recipe for us to find relief and consolation. So the rest is the relief, right? It's not a, 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 a situation where we stop from living or moving. And it is, so the rest is the relief of suffering and through this consolation that comes from Christ's teachings. So Jesus left to us a list of teachings, and all his teachings bring us consolation because we learn through his teachings to have faith in the future life. So even if we face struggles today, we know that the future is bright, right? And the suffering, pain has time to start and to end. So that brings us faith in the future, a better future to all of us. Christ's teachings also teach us about trust in God's justice. So Jesus' teachings show us that all the causes of afflictions, and that's in chapter 5 that I just mentioned earlier, are due to something we have done in the past that perhaps we don't remember, but it's there in our conscious. Needs to have this reparation, right? We need to correct the mistakes we did. And by understanding that God is just, we can trust that He everything we come through has a reason to have. So that brings us some consolation because we don't feel that we have been treated unfairly. So we accept much better the struggles we face, it doesn't mean that it's easier. It doesn't mean that we don't get disappointed, sad, and we have tears. We do drop tears through the struggles we have, but become we accept better these difficulties we face, and we don't have despair, right? We don't fall in despair. We don't fall as there was no solution for our struggles. And Emmanuel brings some examples of this. So if we think about Mary, the mother of Jesus, she cried by the cross when Jesus was at the cross. And it's not that she was not suffering, she was suffering, right? She was suffering by the injustice, his son, because she had a mother's heart, even being the mother of Jesus. And even she having inside herself knowing that the real life is not the present life, and that Jesus was so connected with God, but she suffered, but she didn't get despaired, right? Another example, Peter, when he negates Jesus 3 times before Jesus was put on the cross, he regretted deeply and he cried because he was not strong enough to stand up for Jesus. But then he learned that lesson and he never stopped working for the gospel for his entire life. And another example, Paul of Tarsus. Paul of Tarsus, on the way to Damascus, he was persecuting Christians. He was really not happy about Christians at all. He wanted to put them in jail, to execute them. But then inside his heart, he grew some doubt, right? And he started to reflect as an intelligent man he what was about Jesus that so many people was so faithful about his words. And he considered that his words were a seed of hope to many who were suffering. And he then fall into conscience, right? He came to his mind the mistakes he did, and he cried. But then after that, his suffering doesn't turn him in a person that would just stop and living and be feel so much guilt that he would stop and think that he was the worst person in the world. No, he used all his energy to become one of the best advocates, the greatest advocates of the gospel until the end of his life. So these are some examples of people who, from the pain, but the resignation and the understanding of the future life, they could get the strength to move forward, to sometimes even doing mistakes, to continue living and try to fix those mistakes and become better people. And that's what the teachings of Christ, Jesus, try to bring us this message, because we also are able to overcome our difficulties and be a better version of ourselves every single minute and every day. So let's continue about this. What else Jesus says in that passage, right? So he continues by saying, "Take my yoke upon you." Right? So this word yoke, we don't use that very in everyday life. So yoke is an instrument that's showing here is an instrument that is used to place on is placed on the animals, on a cow or on a horse, right? And on the animal's neck, around their neck, in order for them to push instrument, usually to plow the soil, right? So that's used to plow the soil. It's a heavy instrument, and that doesn't allow the animal to move too much. It has to go according to how the person here in the back is it's directing them, right? So they cannot wander by themselves. So it gives them sense of direction, and it is heavy, right? Because they have to overcome this load. They have to push this load. But also, the yoke can also be used in a metaphorical way. It can represent the way it can mean. Can also means that we submit or we accept to be under the discipline of someone or a set of rules. It can also mean that we are submit to become disciples of somebody else. So in that sense, when Jesus says, "Take my yoke upon you," is not to put an object, right, like this one, but put on you my teachings, right? Allow me to direct your path with my teachings. So Christ's yoke is the moral content of his teachings. So he's inviting us to take his yoke, right? To take his moral teachings. And he also invites us to learn from him. So he says, and learn from him. Because I am gentle and humble in heart. So learn from him to be gentle and humble in heart. So let's take a look at what the Spiritist book says about what is the perfect standard that God has offered humankind to be a guiding model. So what the Spiritists tell us that if we had an example on earth that we could follow, because we know that we have to improve ourselves, who is this model? And that's the answer, the shortest answer in the Spiritist book. Look at Jesus. And these are the words of the spirits. So look at Jesus, because Jesus is the guide and model on earth for us to follow. So the spirits also say that Jesus is the purest being that has ever walked on earth. They say that the highest standard of moral perfection we may aspire. And the spirits also tell us that Jesus' doctrine, Jesus' teachings are the purest expression of God's law. So when Jesus tell us to learn from him, he's telling us to look at his examples when he lived, when he was here around us, and try to follow that, because that will help us to alleviate the suffering we have. And he gives this example not only by teaching words, but by his own actions, right? When he lived around people that were sick, people that were poor at that time, with so much, there was huge conflicts, political, religious conflict. There was misery in many around the Jewish people. So those that were the people who are not in power, they have a very hard living. And Jesus was around these people, right? So Jesus was teaching us to find hope even in the worst of our lives, the worst moments in our life. So let's see what else Jesus are telling us. So he continues by saying, so if you, right, follow my example here, and you will find rest for your souls. So he's explaining again that our rest is this relief. The peace you will find will be through his teachings, because our souls will rest, our souls will find peace when our moral and spiritual debts will, with the divine law, are paid off. So Jesus are telling us that our suffering comes from our soul. So this pain we feel inside our souls comes for this many times that we didn't follow divine law. And even until today, many times when we get angry, we find revolt, our heart burns by things we go outside our control, or things that happen to us that we want in a way and it happens in another way. That's when we feel the affliction, because this acceptance is so difficult still to us. But he says that if we can grasp his teachings and put them in practice, we can find this peace. So the last sentence, he says, so if we do all that, he continues saying that for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So remember that yoke is this discipline, right? The set of rules that Jesus comes from Jesus, that he's inviting us to follow and to accept. So he's saying that his rules, his way of living, his teachings, they are easy. They are not hard. And the burden to follow them are light. At the time Jesus was around us, there were serious political, social struggles, right? People would be suffering. People were suffering a lot. They were helpless because they could never have a better life. They were not heard. They were there were invasions, right? There were the Roman people. They would say the Roman yoke, the set of rules that the Roman emperor put on Jews was very heavy for them, because it challenged even their religious beliefs. So it was very tough for the people to follow. So he's saying that these were set of rules, right? These were imposed to people, and those were heavy. These were hard. But he's saying that he has another set of rules that are much lighter and easy to follow if we do follow. So Jesus' yoke is the observance of divine law. So his rules are just telling us to follow divine law. But this way of following divine law, it's easy. And the law is gentle because it imposes us to love and to do charity as a duty. So that's what the divine laws imposes on us as rule. You have to love love and charity as work to do. That's your duty, that's your responsibility. So that's why he says that it's easy and the law is light. And God, as a divine father and mother, and us as child, who are the parents, right? Who are the parents that don't love their children and want them the best? And even by educating them, we educate with love. So as our God, and the divine law could not be different because it comes from God. So it always starts with an invitation, right? So come to me. Then the question is, can you go? Can we go? So Jesus is inviting us to come to him. So can we come? And there is this lesson from the Spirit Manual that is entitled "Can You Go?" And he mentions that although if it is easy to hear and repeat the Lord's "Come unto me," how difficult the go to him is. Because what does it mean, come to me? Because we saw that it's a light burden, right? The yoke is light. So why don't we follow them? Because it's easy, it's light, the life will be much better. But why can't we just go and look for these teachings? And it is difficult, right? It is tough. It is tough because we listen Jesus' invitation many, many times. We listen Jesus' teachings. It's been over 2,000 years. We listen to his teachings, and we are still trying to figure that out and incorporate that and put that in practice in our daily lives. But it is difficult because we hear the words, we feel inspired, it fills us with hope. We have this booster of energy that we feel that we can be invincible, we can overcome our difficulties. But then with the day-to-day life, we start to forget, right? We feel this energy, we are vitalized, ready to go, and then we suddenly start to slip out of us, and they do not stick. These teachings do not stick on us because we are still too bound into immediate gratifications. We are still running after things that will give us temporary joy, temporary pleasures, temporary will fill up our pride. Sometimes we will become, and Emmanuel even say that we end up in a prison of discouragement. We get locked into discouragement, and sometimes angry. We become angry, and then we fall into these obstacles. Sometimes obstacles in our life that we see as obstacles are a difficult person. Sometimes a difficult person in our family. Sometimes an obstacle are things, material things we want so badly and not necessarily we need, but we put all these things ahead and we prioritize these things, and then Jesus' teachings, the easy yoke goes away, and we end up with the heavy yoke. Because when we go after all these material things, right, these immediate pleasures, we start to carry the burden because we want that so badly that we can stop rationalizing if that even makes sense. So we are pressed by private interests, and these get into the way, into the way between us and Jesus, between this process to coming to him. So the invitation here is that between come to Jesus and where we are now, what are the obstacles that are in the middle? Right? What is in our present life that it is in between us and actually moving towards Jesus? So, um, so Jesus opens his loving, compassionate arms to us, right? When he invites us, come to me, he's with his arms open, waiting for us to get there. But we cannot get there while we still have so so many vices, or bad sentiments. We have angry, we hate, or any bad sentiments that does not help us to reach Jesus or to evolve, to become better individuals, better spirits. So, but Jesus is there waiting for us, and he brings his message in many ways. He brings his messages through the Bible, through the gospel, through all the Spiritist literature, and from all other faiths. Sometimes Jesus brings a message by somebody that randomly come to us in a difficult moment and share with us some words that just bring us hope, and it's just a little push for us to move forward. So we have received these messages all the time. So with Jesus, our life becomes enriched with imperishable values. So we just spoke about the immediate things we look at. Those are all perishable values, right? We put too much values on things that are perishable. If we discarnate tomorrow, what do we take with us? Everything that we don't take is perishable. But with Jesus' teachings, we bring the unperishable, the things that are eternal, because these are teachings for the soul, right? We bring with us that becomes part of us as spirits, and is our baggage. It is our backpack that we take from this life to the next life. And under Jesus' yoke, and we learned today that yoke is his teachings, right? All the teachings he tells us about moral and spiritual change. And through blessing work, so work that help us to improve ourselves, and that is it depends on our own effort, our individual effort, because nobody can help us to lift the load that is on our shoulders. This is something we have to do. Although we have help and support, it's something we have to face, right? So through work, and with work and his teachings, we'll move forward towards universal homeland. And these are the words of Spiritual Emmanuel again. So when he mentions universal homeland, is because our life, we are citizens, as spirits, we are citizens of the universe, right? As the creation of God. So we can move forward from one life to the other until we purify ourselves and become better. So the gospel of today is this invitation to see where we are at in this call that Jesus gives to us when we are burdened and we are in suffering, and how we can get there. And it is a beautiful message this time, where we see so many struggles on earth, where we see our eyes are much more open to injustice in the world, and intolerance. And so that helps us to give the tools of how we can deal with that without despair, right? How can we do our part in that sense? And this week we celebrate Easter, right? And Easter, we, as spiritists, we don't celebrate in a traditional way, right? With Easter eggs, or with or the way how other Christian religions sometimes celebrate Easter, but it is a time for reflection. It is a time where we can think about Jesus' teachings and where we are at in these teachings, and where can we improve, make small improvements. So I'll stop here, and I thank everyone for listening today. And I hope you enjoyed the talk. And we have.
Hi, Veronica. Oh my God, such an amazing topic. Thank you so much for all your explanation. And I'm sure everyone that were listening could kind of reflect in everything that you were saying. And it really stayed with me where you said that like it's 2000 years, right, that we are listening to those teachings. And right now it's still hard to really accept all of them and say, hey, I really need to put that into practice. But I feel that every Tuesday we are learning more and more the Spiritist view, and we are definitely kind of internalizing everything, and it's really good to reflect about how the teachings are the yoke, are the discipline that we need to really improve in this life, right?
Yes. Yes, for sure.
So we have a couple of questions and comments. Okay, let's start with this one. It's from Rodrigo Gomez, and he did in our YouTube. Great topic. I would like to know more about Jesus' thoughts under Spiritist teachings when he says this happiness isn't for this world. What
Mhm.
kind of happiness we can have here? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we studied that in chapter 5, right? About blessed are the afflicted. I think is the title. So when Jesus says what Spiritism teaches about happiness is not of this world, is because we live in a world of proven expiation, going towards a regenerated world. But all this means that all of us, as spirits from Earth, living on Earth, we still have we have done many mistakes throughout our lives, our all of our multiple lives, that we need to fix that, right? So the source of the suffering comes from these mistakes we made. So sometimes we have debts towards others, right, that we made suffer, so we need to make up for that. And also because we inflicted, right, we inflicted pain towards others, we need to also sometimes feel that in order for us to realize the evil we have done. So happiness is not of this world because we need to face these challenges in order for us to improve. But with time, uh, as we improve, then these sufferings will decrease, right? Because we will have less debt, and also because we enlighten ourselves, we get a better understanding about future lives, what is the meaning of what's the real spiritual life is about, and that this life on earth is temporary, is necessary, very important, but it's temporary. So we start to see struggles in a different way, because now a struggle we face, it may not last 10% of our life, right? 10 years, it
Mhm.
could last our entire life. Somebody that has, sometimes we have an illness that we carry throughout our entire existence,
It's a
right?
chronic, right?
A chronic condition, or something we are born with, or something that it happens to us and you have to live. But what are 10, 5 years, or 50 years in a spirit, for a spirit life that is eternal?
Yeah,
So we
definitely.
have a different sense of dimension, right? All becomes
Mhm.
relative in terms of size.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's go to the other one. It's from Publio. He says, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. How can we go to Jesus? Please explain this.
Yeah. So when Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are suffering," right? And he says in another moment also, "I'm the way, the path, and the life." So how we can go about reaching out to Jesus, right? We need to follow his teachings, right? What his teachings say: love God above all and your neighbor as yourself,
So
right?
simple, right? Just two
So short.
sentences.
Yeah. Yeah. What's amazing when we see pure spirits, enlightened spirits speaking, we
Mhm.
cannot delete superfluous world. We are talking here, we half of what we say are not important, right? If we were going to actually strain and get just what is important, we can probably nail down to one sentence. But we see there in that passage from Matthew that every single every single word that Jesus says has a meaning,
Yes.
right? And we can spend a long time in each single piece of that sentence to actually make sense of it in so many ways, right? So when Jesus says, I am the way, right, the path and the life, so we have to do like he did, right? Practice charity, love one another, and not give value to things that are temporary, are material, the way that we do, right? We have been done, right? We give too much value for that. Those things are important for us, for sure, but it's just the way how we prioritize things.
That's amazing. Thank you so much once more for your topic today. It was really a great reflection for all of us. And thank you all for the participation in the chat. So now we are going to move on to the preparation for tonight's spiritual treatment. So passes is the transfusion of spiritual energy with the goal of assisting our physical, emotional, and mental balance. Passes will help to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with health and positive energy. So in order to receive the best benefits from passes, please follow the audio instructions or remain in prayer. You may close your eyes to help with mentalization. During the pass, the waters you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that your family and you can benefit from. We will now make a prayer in preparation for the pass, which will be our closing prayer as well. So let's close our eyes once again and mentalize our Master Jesus. Master Jesus, we would like to thank you for one more night that we could spend learning a little bit more about Spiritism, about your teachings. And we also would like to thank you for all the benefits that the spiritual treatment will bring to us and to our family. We would like to ask for your protection for this week that we still have ahead, and that this message reach everyone that is in need of it. May we be able to accept your invitation today, Jesus, and come to you and come to your yoke, because it, like you said in your teachings, it is easy and it's not heavy. We trust that you will be with us today and always. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, of pain, let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our Spiritist Center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The path begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm, not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil, washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light, surrender to it, involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that it may be of help to us when we drink it after the Pass. Thank you, God.
I would like to thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will be back next Tuesday here on Spiritism Canada and Continental Concarfas America at 8:30 p.m. East, and next Wednesday on Kardec Radio at 8 p.m. East. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
of love.